During his presidency, Donald Trump was fond of complaining about chain migration, a term used by critics to describe the act of migrants helping their family members move to the United States. Yet Donald Trump himself would have never been born in America if it weren't for this very practice. Not many know that his grandparents are immigrants from Germany, so who were Donald Trump's grandparents? Keep watching to find out. The bustling steamship SS Eider docked at New York City's Castle Garden on October 17, 1885, marking the beginning of a transformative journey for hundreds of German immigrants, including a 16-year-old named Friedrich Trump. After a 10-day voyage across the North Atlantic, this young, light-haired boy disembarked onto American soil, leaving behind his small wine-making village where survival often meant enduring hard labor. Standing on the ship's deck, Friedrich eagerly awaited his first glimpse of the New York harbor, equipped with little more than a meager collection of clothes stuffed into a small suitcase. A humble barber's apprentice, he faced the challenges of a new life in a land where he lacked knowledge of the language, English, and formal education beyond his German literacy. According to Gwenda Blair, the author of The Trumps' 3 Generations That Built an Empire, Friedrich's beginnings were modest, devoid of privileges like a high school diploma. Despite the linguistic and educational barriers, his determination and resilience would set the stage for a remarkable journey that would shape the Trump family's legacy. Following Friedrich Trump's daring departure from Germany in pursuit of the American dream, he managed to carve out a prosperous life. Settling in New York, he married Elizabeth Christ, and together they raised 3 children. Their second child, Frederick Christ Trump, would become a pivotal figure, expanding the family's real estate ventures through significant housing developments in the 1940s and 1950s. Frederick Christ Trump's marriage to Mary Ann McLeod added a new chapter to the family's story, bringing 5 children into the fold. Notably, their 4th child, Donald Trump, would rise to global prominence as the 45th President of the United States. Donald's presidency would be marked by controversial policies, including hard-line stances on immigration, ironically, policies that, if in place earlier, might have barred his family's patriarch, Friedrich Trump, from entering the United States. Despite family members' attempts to obscure their German heritage, President Trump acknowledged his father's origin during a news conference at a NATO summit. Frederick Christ Trump, born in New York 2 decades after Friedrich Trump's arrival in the U.S., represents the continuity of the family's American journey. Interestingly, present-day immigration policies could have classified Friedrich Trump as an unaccompanied minor or an unaccompanied alien child, unless appointed legal guardianship by his older sister, his sole relative in the U.S. upon arrival. Experts suggest that, under current policies, Friedrich might have faced expedited removal, a process known as the rocket docket. This approach was implemented during President Obama's administration and continued under Donald Trump's tenure. Friedrich Trump, the early years in Karlstadt. In 1869, Frederick Trump entered the world into the care of honest, plain, pious parents, overseeing a small vineyard in Karlstadt, a German town celebrated for its wine and distinctive dish, pig stomach. Financial hardships loomed over the family, and the situation worsened with the untimely death of Frederick's father, Johannes, when the boy was a mere 8 years old. Facing economic struggles and being too frail for vineyard work, Frederick embarked on a new path by apprenticing at a barber shop in a neighboring village. Upon completing his training, he returned to Karlstadt, only to find limited opportunities as the town couldn't support another barber. Faced with the prospect of a challenging life of poverty, Frederick made a pivotal decision. In a daring move, Frederick chose to escape the confines of Karlstadt rather than succumb to the hardships within. Despite being eligible for mandatory military service, Frederick opted for a different path, dodging the draft by fleeing the country altogether. Friedrich Trump's audacious journey to the New World unfolded with a clandestine note to his mother, Katharina, signaling his departure from the small winemaking village. Legend has it that when Katharina awoke the next morning, her son had vanished. Friedrich traversed nearly 350 miles to Bremen, where he invested the equivalent of 20 in a steerage-class ticket on the SS Eider. There, he secured a one-way ticket to America. Frederick Trump journeys to the New World. The fateful night Frederick Trump left his German home marked the beginning of a journey for a desperate, undereducated, and underskilled teen. The conditions aboard steerage class were harsh, with passengers receiving barely one meal a day, no baths, and limited drinking water. The 10-day voyage culminated at the Castle Garden Immigration Center in Manhattan, marked by a pervasive stench that drew complaints from a neighboring shipping and railroad tycoon. Despite the challenging journey, Friedrich's aspirations were fueled by the allure of America, a land of opportunity where making an immense fortune seemed achievable, a stark contrast to the limited prospects in his German wine-growing village. Friedrich Trump's arrival in the United States in the late 19th century coincided with a significant wave of German immigration, a period characterized by the welcome extended to migrants, particularly from Northern Europe. Manuel Orozco, a migration expert at the Dialogue, noted that the 1880s to the early 1900s marked a high point in immigration, with a notable influx of young migrants below adult age. During this era, immigrants were not just accepted, they were actively sought after due to the needs of the growing nation. While the 18th and early 19th centuries saw relatively free and open immigration policies, the surge in the number of immigrants prompted the federal government to introduce restrictions. The Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, driven by economic fears and racist attitudes against Chinese workers, was among the early measures. Various laws aimed to control the entry of specific laborers into the country. In 1897, President Grover Cleveland played a role in shaping immigration policy by vetoing legislation that sought to impose a literacy test requiring immigrants to read 5 lines from the Constitution. His rationale reflected the historical openness to immigrants, emphasizing the nation's encouragement for individuals from foreign countries to contribute to the development of the vast American domains while sharing in the blessings of citizenship. New York City, at the time of Friedrich Trump's arrival, served as a hub for the German community. Settling in Manhattan's Lower East Side with his older sister, who had already established herself in the U.S., Trump found a sense of home in a city where his neighbors shared his language and the aroma of German bread, reminiscent of his mother's baking, wafted through the air on Sundays. Upon arriving in New York, Frederick ventured to the West Coast and in 1891 established himself in Seattle. There, he purchased a local establishment, the Poodle Dog, situated in the city's red light district. This venue, with a history likely tied to the activities of prostitutes, underwent a transformation under Frederick's ownership, being renamed the Dairy Restaurant. While the extent to which Trump maintained the previous establishment's policies remains unclear, his business acumen began to shine. In the subsequent years, Frederick Trump traversed various frontier mining towns, strategically opening restaurants, taverns, and hotels. Employing a savvy business strategy known as mining the miners, he catered to those drawn to the Pacific Northwest in pursuit of gold. Frederick Trump's entrepreneurial spirit led him to expand his business ventures beyond U.S. borders. At a certain juncture, he took his enterprise to Canada, where he operated a multifaceted establishment encompassing a restaurant, bar, and brothel in British Columbia. By 1892, he had achieved the milestone of becoming a naturalized American citizen, marking his deep integration into the fabric of his adopted homeland. As the 20th century dawned, Frederick Trump found himself not only a citizen, but also a man of considerable wealth. However, the story took an unexpected turn in 1904 when Frederick decided to return to Germany. His new wife, Elizabeth Christ Trump, a fellow German native whom he had met just a couple of years earlier, yearned for her homeland. In an endeavor to fulfill his wife's wishes, Frederick embarked on a journey to Germany, intending to start a new chapter in their lives there. Yet, the Trumps' German sojourn was short-lived. In less than a year, they found themselves unceremoniously expelled from Germany, compelling a return to the United States, a lightning strike from fair skies. Recently discovered documents have shed light on the circumstances that led to German officials compelling Frederick Trump to depart his homeland soon after his return. Historian Roland Paul, who unearthed a royal decree dated February 27, 1905, shared insights in the German publication Bild. Friedrich Trump emigrated from Germany to the USA in 1885. However, he failed to deregister from his homeland and had not carried out his military service, which is why the authorities rejected his attempt at repatriation. This revelation unveils a crucial aspect of Trump's past. He had not fulfilled the mandatory military service required by the German authorities at the time of his departure from the country in 1885. His failure to complete this obligation became a central reason for the German authorities to reject his repatriation attempt in 1905. In response to the royal decree, Frederick Trump faced the daunting task of leaving the Kingdom of Bavaria within 8 weeks. Desperate to plead his case, Trump wrote a heartfelt letter to Prince Regent Luitpold, emphasizing his family's distress and seeking forgiveness. In the letter, he described the sudden and distressing news as a lightning strike from fair skies, expressing the profound impact on their once happy family life. Frederick wrote of his wife's anxiety and his child falling ill, portraying the emotional toll of the deportation threat. Why should we be deported? This is very, very hard for a family. Despite the emotional plea, Prince Regent Luitpold rejected Frederick Trump's request for leniency. Consequently, on July 1, 1905, Frederick, along with his wife, pregnant with Donald Trump's father, Fred, and their daughter, boarded the Hapag steamship Pennsylvania to return to America. Frederick Trump shapes America's fate. The ramifications of the 1918 flu pandemic, a global health crisis that claimed the lives of millions, were deeply personal for Donald Trump's family. Frederick Trump, the grandfather of the future president, fell victim to the Spanish flu, succumbing to its effects at the age of 49. This tragic event occurred just over a decade after Frederick's return to New York, leaving his 12-year-old son, Fred Trump, without a father figure. Following her husband's passing, Elizabeth assumed the management of the burgeoning real estate venture, which eventually became known as Elizabeth Trump and Son, with her son Fred joining her in the business. During Fred's youth, Elizabeth actively engaged in buying and selling properties, overseeing construction projects, and arranging mortgages. Her entrepreneurial spirit extended to assisting neighbors with their real estate needs. As Fred reached the age of responsibility, he seamlessly took the reins of the business. Subsequently, Fred would go on to inherit and expand the family business, known as E. Trump and Son. By the time Fred passed away in 1999, he had successfully incorporated over 27,000 New York apartments and row houses into the family's burgeoning real estate empire. Over the ensuing decades, Fred played a pivotal role in expanding the enterprise, ultimately establishing the foundation for the family empire that would be inherited by his son, Donald. The trajectory of Donald Trump's family history, marked by personal losses and resilient entrepreneurship, took an unexpected turn in 1918 with the death of his grandfather. Little did anyone foresee that in less than a century, Frederick Trump's grandson would ascend to the highest office in the land. Reflecting on the pivotal moment in 1905, when Prince Regent Luitpold turned Frederick away, one can't help but contemplate the alternate course of history that could have unfolded if Germany had embraced the Trump family back into the German fold. And that wraps up today's video. Considering Trump's immigration policy during his presidency and the fact that his family has an immigrant background, what are your thoughts on its appropriateness? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Stay tuned for our next video. Bye for now.